And what do you think it is about video in particular, like being able to pre-record a video that gives people that ability to shine? Do they have like multiple chances to record it? Do they like record it and edit? I know getting into like really nitty gritty here, but in the job search process, I find it so interesting because you're sort of challenged to do all of the communication styles, right? You have to have a resume, which is about concise writing, a cover letter, which is about more storytelling writing. You have to interview, which is the in-person. And then sometimes they have video interviews with like a counting clock in the corner, which terrifies the hell out of people, myself included. Like they really put people through the ringer, homework assignments and so on. But what do you think it is about video? Do you think there's any generational aspects to it, whereas younger people are becoming more fluent in video due to social media and things like that? Is it more personality based? What do you sort of think the I guess magic of video is?
Yeah, I think that it is the ability to record, re-record if needed, watch, like preview. Also, you learn from yourself when you rewatch your video. They're not thinking about that, but actually they're learning a ton by rewatching their video and like self-critiquing. And I think it really does improve their work and their ability to verbalize ideas, like, what are you thinking? Really get into that. So yes, I find that I find so many styles of recording. So literally I have the kids who will take their phone and like, they'll be holding it up like this and they'll be just like pacing around the room and talking to the video, totally informal. I have kids who they did at the study hall before class just started. Okay. And then I have the kids who you can tell they're reading off the screen. They had written up a whole script and they're like always recording in their room. So, you have the different styles. You also get to know a little bit about their personality. I think it's just that ability to record, re-record if you need to. I do think that they're comfortable recording on video. I've seen a big difference just since I started doing this versus now in terms of the comfort of just even sitting down in front of a video and being, conscious of is my hair done? Things like that. I'll see students recording to a teacher in a very informal environment. And I'm fine with that. Not all teachers are, and it's fine to give your own expectations. I like it because I feel like I get insight into that student. I get further insight. So, video is just one of those platforms that I find it's easier for me to get to know more about the student's personality. So I think that's why I tend to talk most about video, especially as a math teacher, versus just written stuff where it's a little harder for them to really express themselves fully.
And when it comes to that change, right, we're seeing people become more fluent in creating videos and content, but do you see a change in the in-classroom experience at all? Or are people becoming less and less confident in the classroom, kind of as the video becomes more confident, or are the dynamics in classrooms staying fairly consistent?
Well, I think there's a lot of shifts in the classroom, and I don't know how much of that is due to the pandemic and the increase in social media use among, our teenagers. Attention spans are definitely changing, but it makes sense. A 4-minute TikTok video is way too long. You know what I mean? So them being used to something, whereas when I went to school, it's you're watching a half an hour TV show with commercials. If you want to watch something, there's no other option. So things are shifting dramatically. And I don't think we have all the answers yet to really how to engage students and keep their attention. It is an important thing to train. You were talking before too about when you do a job interview that you need to have all of these different skills to, express yourself in all these different ways. And as much as we've talked so much about using technology to shift the game, to, allow students to be more comfortable in a platform that's most comfortable to them, I don't want to dismiss the importance of making sure that, our learners are equipped for all different types of conversation. It's really important. People have to be stretched outside of their comfort zone, and it is our job to, help equip them in all the different types of formats that they might be responsible for communicating in. But I think it is important as leaders, as teachers, that we design inclusive and accessible conversations for all the different types of people, so that we really are able to hear from all different types of voices. So I think we have to continue to practice as individuals to get comfortable, okay, yeah, I'm not the most comfortable going to a big conference. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to go to some of them, but it does mean that I'm not going to travel more days than I'm at home versus somebody else who's going to choose that format. So anyway, I think I got a little bit off topic there, but I just wanted to, since you had pointed it out, I just wanted to make sure that that I said that out loud.
Yeah, well, and it's giving people the tools that work best for them and giving them some exposure to everything so they can be ready for the world, right? And I think this is maybe one of the areas that it's good that you're out there promoting this stuff so much, because I'm curious, have you come across much pushback in regards to maybe from the older guard, let's say, in how to teach, in the ways that teaching has changed? Because I think the pandemic really shook things up, right? What was your experience of the pandemic and how it has shaken the education world? And what, now that we're, fingers crossed, coming out the other side of it, what is sticking, and what is there any pushback to go back to the old ways? What are you sort of seeing as the general tenor of the world of education right now?
Yeah, I feel like it's a tough one to address right now, because there's a lot of this year was, I think, the hardest year ever. I think it was harder than last year for sure. My perspective and opinion on it, the amount of uncertainty, I can't wait to get to a more certain school year. Thinking last year before going in that we kind of knew what was going to go on, and then things just shifted very quickly. Anyway, one of the things, when you ask about pushback, I think there was a big, there's questions from parents. Now I really share why I do what I do. And I feel like my voice has gotten out there enough that it's very clear. But I think for teachers, it's very important to express why you're doing certain things. So when you're flipping your classroom, what is the real need for that, and how is it really working? Making sure that, a parent who learned when they went to school by sitting and getting lectured and thinking that lecture is really the best way to learn, then seeing their child now learn material over video, I think it's very easy for them. I know from experience that it is easy for them to assume that, okay, now the student's responsible for learning all the material on their own at home. That's the way they learn. And that's not where the learning happens. The most powerful learning is happening in the classroom, but it's very important to express how you're really doing class, how conversations happening. So I think explaining the why you're doing this is essential so that parents can get on the same page. Because I think trust begins with parents when we're teaching teenagers and younger, at least. And another aspect of it is, trust from all, from students too. I only mentioned the parents, but it's important to get the students on the same page and get them into that expectation, because it's hard to make a shift. So even how do you take notes when you're watching a video? It's easy to assume that students, they watch videos all the time, they know how to do that, but in my experience, they don't. And so, helping them learn how to pause, to play, to really take ownership for their learning is really important task. I forget the second point that I was getting at.
Well, you were hitting on a couple of really key ideas here. And I want to circle back to some of the things you mentioned earlier, which is you're talking a lot right now about trust. And prior, we were talking a lot about confidence. And, we're in different worlds with kind of similar overlaps. teaching different age groups, which is so interesting. And I just think it's so fun because so much of it is the same, right? And I think like, we're talking about teenagers here, and we're talking about math, and we're talking about the educational learning environment, but everything you're saying translates in my mind to the people that I teach who are in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. And it really is interesting to sit there and hear you say the words trust and confidence, because that again is the same exact thing that I'm experiencing, where people don't trust themselves. They learn the thing and then they don't trust that they actually know it, right? Or they haven't put it into practice. Maybe you even have a little more hands-on because you have tests and things like that. But in the world that I'm in, people feel like unless they're being paid for the thing that they've learned, that they haven't learned it. That's a general imposter syndrome idea that comes up a lot. And I have to continually remind people that learning it is part of doing it. And the process of doing something begins with exposure and learning and engaging in conversation. And the conversation is actually as big a piece as even the consumption of the learning, right?